Hello, good afternoon. This is Mark Heinzman with Frontier Security. Today we're going to talk about some of the new features of the R4 integrated platform. Once again, my name is Mark Heinzman. I am a product manager for Frontier Security. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The things we're going to talk about today are going to be some of the latest building controller options. I'm going to show the three different form factors of building controllers that we have now. I'm also going to go through some of the Frontier video interface enhancements. So that's the interface between the Frontier access control system and the Frontier video management system. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the integration to the Suprema biometric readers. These are fingerprint readers that we've recently integrated. We've done a very tight integration to those readers, making it really a great solution. Then I'm going to give an introduction to the up-and-coming Cylon controller that we will be releasing sometime next year. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to talk about the next generation building controllers. We've come out with three different form factors of building controllers, and we've completely redesigned the hardware on the building controllers with industrial hardware. All the new building controllers are solid state. They don't have any moving parts. They're industrial grade motherboards, canvas design. We have multiple mounting options. So as you can see, we have the smaller form factor over here, which is a 2-port building controller. Then we have a little bit bigger of a model that's a smaller form factor that's actually a 10-port. And then we also have the Rackmount building controller. So all of this is solid state. Hard drive, that's typically where you're going to see the most wear and tear is at the hard drive level. So we've eliminated that factor there, and it's really provided a much more dependable building controller that's going to last a really long time. We've also improved the loading of the building controllers. So we can load the building controllers strictly from a USB drive now, which makes the implementation of the building controller much easier to do. So I'm going to talk about the Frontier video management system and access control integration. So I'll just go over some of the things that were already in the interface, as well as there's, we've added some new features recently with our latest R4 release. So we can take live and recorded feeds from our video management system, and we can bring those directly into the access control system now. We can view historical video associated with access control and VMS alarms. So, alarms on the access control side, door force, door ajar, basically any type of alarm in the access control system, we can associate video to it. And when the alarm comes in and actually happens in the system, we can quickly review the recorded video of that transaction, as well as we'll have a quick live view that'll be side by side that you'll be able to see at the same time. When you bring up the recorded and live video windows, you get quite a few options. So from recorded video, we can actually control the speed of the video, the playback speed. We can actually search through video from the recorded video screen as well. We can also export video from the recorded video screen to your hard drive. And we can take snapshots as well. On the live side, we can now jump to presets. So that's a newer feature where we can take the presets from the camera. We can jump directly to those presets from the live video window, as well as we can pan, tilt, and zoom from the live video. And we can do that with pan, tilt, zoom cameras as well as fixed cameras. When we do it with the fixed cameras, we're working obviously with a digital pan, tilt, zoom at that point. But it comes in, it's very handy when you have high definition cameras that do actually have enough pixels on them to be able to make use of a digital PTZ. We've also added the ability at the watch window to be able to view live and recorded video associated to the transactions as they occur. So our watch window is a window that is is constantly looking at badge transactions or credential transactions within the facility, and it'll show the enrolled picture of the credential holder as they go through different doors, and they'll give us information as to what doors they are going through at what times, as well as the transaction, if they're getting accepted or rejected. So we actually can now take the credential picture from the watch window that was enrolled, and we can immediately bring up the live video to match that person and make sure that it is the correct person going through the door. Another feature we've recently added is alarm pop-ups on access control alarms. We have our alarm pop-up video on the video management side, but we recently added it to the access control side. So we can now do an alarm pop-up on any alarm within the access control system as well. And if you look in the bottom right corner of this graphic, this small window here is actually an alarm pop-up. So this window will appear or pop up when an alarm or event occurs that you've defined that you'd like to see a pop-up on. So this window right here, we can configure the amount of time that the video is shown, and then we can also configure the position on the screen and the size of the actual window itself. As you are getting alarm pop-ups, if you see something that you're actually interested in, you can double-click on this window here, and it'll actually bring up the live and recorded view of that particular transaction at the time. So this is a quick way to get visibility of your facility and just constantly have a little alarm popping up or a window popping up showing when certain events are happening. With the presets, we also do a preset on alarm now. So if we have a PTZ camera that's looking in a certain way and has presets defined, we can associate those presets to different areas or different alarms, and we can have the camera pan and tilt over and even zoom over to the area that's been defined as a preset as the alarms actually occur in the system. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Suprema Biometric Reader integration. So Supremo Biometric Readers, these are some of the leading readers within the biometric industry. These readers are very quick response readers. So in the past, a lot of biometric technology has not always been very responsive when actually authenticating credential transactions at the door, which makes it difficult to put biometric fingerprint type readers in high volume areas. These readers actually work fine in high volume. The matching and the credential authentication at the reader is extremely quick. So these will work great in high traffic areas as well. We also have made this a extremely easy enrollment process. And I'll talk about that here in a minute when we look at the next screen. And then one other thing about our integration is we've made this a very tight integration. So all the template information for matching is actually stored in the Frontier Access Control database, which eliminates the need for a separate database or separate database server. A lot of the implementations, or at least most of actually the implementations of biometrics today require two different systems, one for the access control database and another for the biometrics database. So we wanted to make a tighter integration, which would eliminate all the overhead of administering multiple databases. So on the enrollment process, we've integrated the enrollment process directly to our credential screen. So if you look at our screen down here, we have a biometrics area, and this is basically where you just go ahead and you can define which enrollment reader that you're going to actually enroll from. So we can enroll from the actual card readers that are within the system, as well as we can use a USB enrollment that you can attach to the credential workstation. And then from here, you can actually tell it exactly which enrollment reader you'd like to use. If you'd like to use one that's actually authenticating biometric transactions at the door, you can do that, or you can buy a USB reader. This enrollment process is extremely quick and it's extremely easy. All you do is do a plus on the screen, you hit scan, place your finger on the reader twice, save the record, and you're enrolled. So it's extremely easy to create another credential as a biometric credential, and you can also define that credential as being a biometric credential. So from the watch reader level that we had looked at previously on the previous screen, you can have visibility that this is actually a biometric credential being used at the door. Once again, the biometric template information is stored directly in our database, so no separate systems that you have to install to get that information, and you don't have to administer two different databases. We also have an extremely easy installation process for the reader. So being that it's a much tighter integration, the only thing that you really need to do is define the reader in our system and add it as another reader within the Frontier Access Control system. We don't have to install another database once again, which makes the installation much easier. And we also use an auto-discovery process to find the readers. They're all found by IP address or defined by IP address within our system. So you just hit the auto-discovery, it'll go out, it'll search your network, it'll find the reader, and you do an add from there. Once it finds the reader, it will update all the information and automatically put it into your system as a door. We can also check statuses on the reader from our system. We can do resets to the readers, and we can re-download configurations. Those are typically more troubleshooting type things, but we do have the ability to do all those things directly from our application. When we do get statuses, we can tell how many credentials are actually defined in the reader and how many templates are in the reader. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Cylon. So we're just going to give a quick preview on the Cylon board. The Cylon board is a new controller that we're developing that's really going to change the way controllers, the ability of the controllers within the system. We're starting from the ground up with this. So finally, it's a panel that isn't dead. And what that means is this controller is going to be completely upgradable from the standpoint, actually from many different standpoints. But the processor itself is going to be upgradable, as well as the board will be expandable. So what we're looking at here is this is a two-door controller, and you can do two doors. You can do in and out doors. I'm sorry, in and out readers on those doors. So you can do a total of 4 readers at 2 doors if you wanted to, if you had a need for an in and out, as well as you can easily add another module that'll double your capacity there to be able to do four actual doors. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way there. All right. So what we can do here is we have the ability now to actually take the processor out of the controller, and we can upgrade the processor and put a new one in there. What that's going to do is really going to, give the controller a much longer lifespan as far as processing power. These boards, right out of the gate, are going to be much more powerful than any board that we've ever had, or any board that I've actually ever seen out on the market. It's OSPP native, so we're using OSPP as our communication protocol, and we also have we're going to have a simple weekend converter to retrofit other systems. OSPP is a new protocol that is much more robust than Wiegand, and it gives much more capability between the communication on the controller and the reader, and the different functions you can do at that protocol level. This is going to be power over Ethernet, so we'll be able to use PoE to drive the board. And we're also going to have the ability to do video output and expandable storage. So we actually have the ability to do a SATA storage off these boards, as well as the processor and the board itself is going to be much more powerful right out of the gate. So it's really going to give us the ability to store very high volumes of offline transactions, as well as cardholder information. So it's going to be far beyond anything else in the industry when it comes to offline behavior. And then we also have a full set of new implementation options. and we're going to go ahead and take a look at those. So this is a kind of typical installation you might see out in the field. Unfortunately, these things tend to get very messy, and I think it's by nature of the way a lot of these controllers and devices are designed. They don't necessarily lend themselves real well to the whole installation process. So that's something that we really looked at hard when we were designing the new Cylon board. So we wanted to make some really good options as far as the installation of the board itself. So we have an over-the-door enclosure. It's got integrated cable management. We put the status right outside of the board, or I'm sorry, outside of the enclosure, so you can quickly see if it's communicating upstream, downstream, or if it's online. It is a secure enclosure. We've made it so you can kind of customize the colors of it, so it'll fit nicely into the environment and be aesthetically pleasing. It also has a low-profile mount option, so you can actually recess this enclosure into the wall, which makes it a really nice installation. And of course, it's PoE. The next thing we're going to look at is the rack mount enclosure. So, as I said, many options as far as installation. So this is going to be a 1U rack mount configuration. Very space-efficient design. You can get a lot of controllers in the rack mount. We've designed it to be easily accessible as well as easy to maintain. And of course, it fits into the IT infrastructure. So this is really going to lend itself well to the IT world. A lot of controllers are typically either mounted in an enclosure over the door, like we had just previously seen, or in an actual what people call a can on the wall, or a metal enclosure. So this really will be nice because having the ability to put it in a rack, it'll be much more secure. It'll also be a much cleaner install. So we've come up with a new panel configuration. So what we're doing now is it's a modular panel configuration, and what we're going to use is sort of a high-impact plastic for the actual enclosure instead of metal. This really cuts down on the weight of the actual panel. Most typical enclosures today are metal, and they do typically require 2 people to actually mount these panels. This panel will not require 2 people. It's going to be modular, which is going to make it much easier in the mounting process, as well as the weight itself makes it much easier. So much easier to install. Of course, high volume as far as the density and how many panels you can get in the enclosure itself. And we're also doing panel labeling on the enclosure. So we think this is really going to help out with the installation of the panels themselves, as well as the maintenance moving forward. So that's actually the end of the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions if anyone has any. If anybody has any questions, I'm sorry, actually everyone's on mute, so if you could just send a chat message if you had any questions. Okay, well, it doesn't look like I have any questions for anybody. All right, well, thanks everyone for their time this afternoon. I hope you got some good information out of the webinar, and I will talk to you guys next time in my next webinar. Thanks, have a good afternoon.